Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update video. So this one's going to be all about the Free Comic Book Day book for 2023, which is going to be half Avatar The Last Airbender. So we knew from before, we already covered this, that it's going to be half Star Wars High Republic, half Avatar The Last Airbender. So unfortunately, no Korra for the 2023 book, but we might get stuff in coming years for Free Comics. So, the news here is that we have the creative team revealed for the Avatar story, as well as a description for the Avatar story. And it's interesting because it obviously relates to what was meant to be in like this year's Free Comic Book Day book, the 2022 one. And it's pretty interesting to see how exactly this works out, what happened. It's a pretty crazy situation. So you can see here, written by Daniel Jose Older and Amy Chu. So you can see here from the cover, it's a Star Wars cover. The creative team of the Star Wars book is Daniel Jose Older and Harvey Tolibao. And so you just go for the second names here. Written by Amy Chu is going to be writing the Avatar book. And the art is going to be done by Kelly Matthews and Nicole Matthews, who together are the artist team, Kicking Shoes. Now that should be familiar to you because last year we were told that the Avatar short story was going to be written by Amy Chu and illustrated by Kicking Shoes. But then when we got the book, as you can see here, that's not Kicking Shoes art. That's the Chibi comic, which is not written by Amy Chu either. What happened here? Now, Kicking Shoes are involved here. They do the cover art, which is this image, the one you can see on screen as well. So they were involved somewhere in all of this. So the big question is, has this story just been taken out of the 2022 book and put into the 2023 book? Has it been just like delayed for some weird reason into 1 year? Or is it just the same creative team having done a different story, and maybe the one that was planned for the 2022 book never came together? Or was it just an error writing this description? The confusion happens with this, I think, because as far as I am aware, the details behind the scenes on all of the Free Comic Book Day books is that they are produced quite a bit in advance of the actual day. So Free Comic Book Day is always in May, except for one exception, obviously. But it's typically always in May. The comic stores will have the books in store in like early April, so like a month ahead of the event, so they can participate correctly. The books are obviously printed well ahead of that. So this post confirming the creative teams from March, how could it have missed that they swapped out a whole story for a preview? That's what's hard to kind of, picture here of like, is this just an error of basically the marketing material, which actually happened a lot in 2022? Or was there actually a production issue, potentially Avatar Studios not happy with maybe a part of the story? They didn't want that one going out or something like that. And it had to be redone or scrapped or something like that. That's the real question here. Is it just sort of like a simple mistake, or is it a bigger mistake that happened here? But anyway, it seems like, at the very least, this creative team has either been given a second chance or their book is finally releasing in 2023. So the description is this. In Avatar The Last Airbender, Aang and his friends come across a village decimated by the Fire Nation. One survivor, a young child named Lumi, refuses to open up to anyone except Earth Kingdom native Toph. Exclusive original material. Okay, so that's interesting. So it is going to be Aang and friends. They're going to a village decimated by the Fire Nation. So that probably means this is probably either set during the show, or if it's set after the show, it might be set like shortly after the show, which would be quite interesting because if you'll remember, The Promise actually time skipped us like a year ahead anyway. So we actually skipped past a somewhat interesting time period, like the immediate year after like episode 321, of course. So it's Comic Part 4 Avatar Aang. So I'm wondering if it might be set there, but who knows? It might just be set somewhere in the middle of the show. Now they're saying it is Earth Kingdom here, of course. So that could mean it is just in the middle of book 2 somewhere, which could be quite interesting. Now, does the cover from last year given that it's by the artist who's going to be doing this story, tell us anything? I'm not really sure. It's obviously by Kicking Shoes, but as you'll note, it's book 3 Aang holding his older staff that in this outfit was gone by the time, this doesn't match up. Interestingly, the Chibi comic also makes the same mistake. So I don't know if this suggests that this is the design of Aang we're going to see there. If so, that would suggest book 3, or, I guess because this is technically Aang's sort of like air/fire outfit that's sort of thrown together, and he goes more full on air nomad at the end of the series, it maybe does suggest that we are in the middle of the series here, which I think would make sense. But anyway, I think it's an interesting idea for a story. They go to talk to this girl, and she'll only open up to someone from her own nation, which is an interesting one in that, like, obviously Team Avatar, it depends on what formation of Team Avatar we're talking here, in that, like, is Zuko part of the group at this point? That could be a bit of a conflict. I'm guessing that might have been mentioned if it was the case, so maybe that suggests it's more the kind of book 2, early book 3 lineup, where Toph is still technically the newest member of the group. That could be quite interesting, but that's a unique position to put Toph in, of like, for her to be the one who has to have the kind of more emotional, helping a girl kind of open up about what happened, to like maybe to let the rest of the group potentially like help her and her village and stuff like that. I don't know, getting maybe a little bit of like, will they do a sort of Shells type situation here, where that was sort of a Suki and the unique kind of character of that book thing, where we did something. Maybe this is something else there. I don't know. This definitely could be interesting. It does all depend on what exactly the details are surrounding what exactly happens, but that could give us a glimpse into the slightly different side of Toph that we maybe don't see as often. So that's at least something unique. And then it obviously depends on what other characters we do get to see. But again, the idea here is we're talking about a book that's going to be like at most like 10 pages long. But some of these free comics have been very good. Others have been a little bit more kind of hit and miss. But this seems like a decent approach here to cover what exactly is going on here. Especially just that idea that she's going to clearly see that she's talking to the Avatar, who's an air nomad, and a bunch of Water Tribe people. Why specifically does it have to be someone from the Earth Kingdom? That's an interesting kind of idea. But yeah, it does mean like, okay, that's something to look forward to now in the middle of the year, because the release lineup is kind of weird for next year, where we've got the Azula comic and then the Mako comic, but they're more towards like the end of the year. Like the absolute earliest I think we'll see the Azula comic is probably like June, but realistically maybe like July. So this coming out in May is kind of more of the interesting idea. Again, the reason it says April down here is that that's when the comic book stores will have it in place, which is often why the comics will leak and why you'll see versions of these comics up on eBay ahead of the actual event, is because the comic stores do have them before May 6th, which is Free Comic Book Day 2023. So, yeah, like just based off like the cover art here, to give us a sense for Kicking Shoes art, it looks very, very good in my mind, and it's going to be exciting to see how it works on a sort of like more page-to-page basis. Amy Chu, I don't think we've seen any of her on Avatar stuff before, so it will be kind of fun to see like what her writing style is actually like. I will say, it definitely doesn't to me come across as being one of the like absolute standout premises for like an Avatar short story. Like, it's not the Korra Naga one, it's not the Tenzin backstory one type thing. Like, we've definitely had, I think, stronger ideas for stories, but it's all about the execution, of course. That's the big thing to say with this. Final thing to say just before I end the video is that my final of my big 3 videos to end the year, my 2023 Avatar story and merchandise preview video will be coming out December 31st. So that will preview all the stuff for next year. I have the video mostly done, just have to kind of do the final edit on everything. But that video will be coming out in the coming days, so definitely look forward to that when it actually hits. But I do want to know your guys' thoughts on, what are your thoughts on the description for this, especially, but also what do you think happened? What happened with regards to this book apparently meant to be in last year's comic, but now here it is in this year's comic, and the same artist did the cover for last year's one. What do you think the actual situation is that happened here? And how big of a mess do you actually consider this to be? But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.